Ask Abby, providing answers, insights, and education designed to give you the tools and knowledge you need to thrive financially and live confidently in retirement.
And welcome into the program. This is Ask Abby with Abby Reed of the retirement family at Reed Financial Group. Abby, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Today, going to continue our conversation about making the most of Social Security. Now, in 2023, Social Security has certainly been a hot topic because of the anticipated problems with funding that we are hearing more and more about and seem to be moving ever closer. What do you make of the headlines of the trouble with Social Security funding and how that will be handled, do you anticipate?
That's a great question, and one we're getting pretty often. So on everybody's Social Security statement, you'll find a paragraph that says the Social Security Trust Fund will essentially run dry fairly soon, within the next 10 years or so, unless changes are made. And then at that point in time, the taxes, so the revenue that goes to support Social Security, will be enough to cover 75% of those promised benefits. And so that's alarming to a lot of people, especially right on the cusp of retirement or maybe on the cusp of starting Social Security. And so we're also seeing some movement being made as far as politically on some bills being introduced, some potential fixes for Social Security and Medicare. None of those have really gotten past, very early stages. And so what we're telling people, what we're kind of coaching people about is to not make any decisions based on hypotheticals. So we know that there's going to be changes to Social Security. It can't continue on as it's continuing. So what a lot of people are doing is what we call kind of panic claiming. So they're claiming early, either at 62 or, before their full retirement age or before 70, because they're afraid that they're not going to be grandfathered in. And that makes sense. We understand why people are thinking about it like that. However, what we try and educate people on is if we can maximize those benefits between you, or if you're married, between you and your spouse, if there are cuts down the road, or maybe Social Security is taxed at a higher rate, I can definitely see that happening instead of it being, reduced. If we can maximize that lifetime benefit, then you're going to be able to get more out of it, even if there's changes down the road.
Making the most of Social Security, an important part of the retirement income foundation that we are going to have and be able to rely on. And then certainly there is concern when it looks like that might not be as reliable. So I can understand the thought process behind the panic claiming, but certainly a consideration we need to think through, right?
Right. And then also you want to take into consideration your specific situation. So I was talking to a client last week, and they said they're older, they're in their mid to late 80s. And they said that back in their day, it was recommended in articles in the newspaper, by the neighbor, by the family member at the dining room table, to get your Social Security as fast as you could. Go ahead and start it at 62. We don't know if it's going to be there in the future, so go ahead and get it while the getting's good, basically. And so now he was talking about how that's changed so much. And so in the news now, and the articles that he reads, most people are recommending waiting until 70 to get those delayed retirement credits. And so I explained to him, that's why we don't recommend ever listening to blanket recommendations, because they're never going to be right for all of the people. For everybody. It really depends on your specific situation. So are you married? And if so, what's the age gap between you and your spouse? If there is a significant age gap, we really need to be talking about how is this going to affect the survivor, who's most likely going to be the younger spouse. Also, something to take into consideration in this conversation is health, longevity. So if your parents both lived into their 90s, you probably have something called the longevity gene, and you have a pretty good chance of living into your 90s as well. At least, and if you're married, at least one of you will most likely live into the 90s. So we really need to take Social Security into consideration as far as holistically, how does it fit into your income plan? And also, if we can delay until full retirement age, or ideally even 70 for one of the benefits, what income bridge are we going to set up so that you can still retire earlier, but also delay your Social Security until you get the maximum benefit from those? And that's really what the income plan is all about.
Here to answer your financial questions, visit the website goaskabby.com for show resources and to submit your questions and get answers, or to schedule your complimentary financial investment and retirement planning strategy session. You can also reach out to Abby directly at 678-442-0255. That's 678-442-0255, or at goaskabby.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, LLC, BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM and Reed Financial Group are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents. Third-party ratings and recognitions are no guarantee of future investment success and do not ensure that a client or prospective client will experience a higher level of performance or results. These ratings should not be construed as an endorsement of the advisor by any client, nor are they representative of any one client's evaluation.